Hello, everyone, and welcome to Joe and Josh Talk, The Walking Dead, where we do a weekly recorded, episode of, where we kind of recap the latest episode, what's going on in the show. And this episode was called Sing Me a Song. And Josh, what an episode, man.
Man, what an episode indeed. Not only do we get a look into Negan's compound, we got a deeper look into his psyche. We got to see really the kind of things he is capable of, not just when he's out and about doing his job, I guess, as he would call it, and providing these services, but what he can do when he's just sitting around, like sitting around his place, like talking to the people he interacts with every day. Just a crazy episode all around, a lot going on.
Yeah, most definitely. And we can, if we didn't know before, we could just officially say now that Negan is off his rocker, like pretty much.
Yeah, yeah, big
Um,
time.
so some very, very like key points that we need to go over in this episode. And right off the bat, that they didn't waste any time in this episode, man, by popping things off.
Right?
And literally, when Carl like arrives at Negan's compound, he just grabs a what it looked like an M16 or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know, but or M4, and he just starts popping off guys.
No stealth, no cunning whatsoever. And this was after effectively ditching Jesus. And remember, we know that Jesus is a smart guy. So for Carl to not only kind of just outsmart Jesus, being like, "Oh, you go first. Show me how to do it."
Right.
Leaving the truck. But for him to just, like you said, pull out a weapon, blast away a number of saviors, because he thought about doing it in Alexandria during the episode service, and Rick had to stop him, talk him down. He's like, we have to do it this other way, and for him to go over there and do that, it just shows that for him it's the last straw. Like Rick is trying to make the best of things, so are certain other characters, but for Carl it was the last straw. He couldn't take it anymore.
Exactly, and he proved that by just, of course, shooting off bullets.
Yeah,
Shoot first, ask questions later, and he called out the man himself. He's
right.
like, "Don't anybody move. I want Negan." So, then shortly after that, of course, Carl is taken down, and then, now it's Negan's turn. And so Negan giving Carl the tour. Like, okay, let's talk about that for a second. Like, do you think that he was just trying to like show Carl, hey, look, man, look what I can provide you? You know, what do you think he was trying to do there?
Yeah, I think in a lot of ways, Negan is a showman, because I looked at this, a lot different than, say, for example, the when the governor was showing people around Woodbury.
Hmm.
I looked at this as Negan not only saying, "Look what I've done," but "Look what I'm maintaining."
Absolutely.
He is a leader in this place, and he continues to hold this power over Alexandria, over multiple communities, and over all these people at his compound. Because we got to hear a bit about how they lived there, and obviously they talked about this system of points, and Negan pretending to be this great leader and saying, "Oh, because of me, you get fresh vegetables and no points required and all this stuff." So he's kind of showing off in a way, but we also know that he loves to mess with people. He loves to try to break people. He loves these mental games. And we
Hmm.
saw him have a conversation with Carl to the point of talking about Carl's eye, and that was a pretty intense topic. Making him take off the bandage and saying the things he said, and even causing Carl to break down at a point. It just showed a lot about that Negan. He loves power, whether he's showing off what he's done or what he can do. He's just an over the top, super narcissistic kind of villain.
Yeah, absolutely. And going back to where you were talking about him telling Carl to take off his wrap so he could show his eye. First it's like, man, you're giving me the grand tour, and now you're trying to humiliate me.
Right.
Um, it's just what Negan is. I mean, he's just all about those mind games, man. And okay, lean on to the next. A big thing for me was Mark getting the iron,
Yeah.
and that was kind of brutal. To
Yeah.
be honest with you, that was kind of brutal. And again, that just goes to show, um, what Negan is capable of, and he's not. He's not. Of course, he's not anybody to mess with. But it just goes to show how brutal that he can be. Of course, we didn't already see that in the opening episode of this season, but this this episode is kind of like refreshing our memory, like when it comes to him.
Right, we see that he manages to keep, I guess, as he would call it, order or make people obey the rules the same way he makes people obey the rules outside of his compound. Whereas at his compound, he's just wanting people to bow to him, whether in a literal sense or in a figurative sense.
Right.
Whereas on the outside, he's wanting people to pay tribute to him and give him offerings. It's the same thing in both cases. His method is to make an example out of people.
Hmm.
And his idea is that if you go that extra mile and make an example out of somebody in a brutal, devastating, over the top fashion, most people will comply with you, especially if you have the numbers like he does. So we're seeing that's not only how he maintains power, how he gets resources, that's how he gets people to obey him, out of complete fear. Um, Over the top, but over the top in this kind of interesting way, as we were seeing when he was talking to, the women that he keeps at his place, which led up to that moment, of course, with us finding out that this act of, I guess you could say, by Negan's terms, like he said, was to him it was this woman was cheating on him,
Right.
and this guy got the iron. Obviously, the same thing that happened to Dwight, which
Hmm.
lets us know that okay, Dwight was that same character before who got the iron, and now he's working for Negan and he's working for the Saviors and kind of defending this thing. So not only is he doing that to get everybody on board, it's almost like the sick form of brainwashing.
Absolutely. And let's see, and kind of like rewind just a little bit and like to the conversation with Carl and Negan. Um, Carl just telling Negan to, he can kind of stick it. You can show me all this stuff. You can show me all this power that you have and all
Right,
this, but you don't intimidate me
right,
because you might as well just go ahead and kill me because here I'm going to kill you or my group's going to kill you. Either way.
right. And another thing too, uh, that's one of the things that Negan seems to really admire about Carl is that Carl still is not buying into this whole thing because you could even see when the guy, I forget his name, it's Fat Jimmy or something like that.
Fat
The,
Joseph.
that yeah.
Yeah.
Um, he's coming up and he's bringing the bat and he's like, "Oh, Mr. Negan, sir, I carried your bat." And then Negan's like, "Oh, did you cradle her? Did touch her in certain places?" And the guy's like, and Negan starts laughing. He's like, "I'm just messing with you."
Right.
When he can get these people to bow to him and take this whole thing seriously and pretend that it is some sort of arrangement, that's what he likes. That's how he knows he's broken someone. And he didn't do that to Carl here because, like we said, Carl's still standing up saying, "You might as well kill me. I'm going to kill you." And might be skipping ahead a little bit, but even Daryl, who had a word with Negan when he was with Carl later, where he even kind of threatens Negan at first. Of course, Negan kind of brushes it off, but still, it's
Right.
another character that's not kneeling quite yet.
No, no, he's still got a little bit of fight left in him. And speaking of characters that are fighting back, is Michonne.
Yeah,
We seen where she pretty much took one of the women saviors hostage and say, "Hey, take me to Negan."
right,
So we had to, okay, Michonne's getting into it. She's like, "You know what? Screw this. I'm not bound down to this dude." And then also, okay, one guy that we kind of discussed about is Spencer.
right,
Okay, he is kind of just like he's not going along with Rick being the leader. He doesn't like Rick. He just thinks that Rick is not capable of leading, and he wants to take over.
right. He was one of the characters, of course, who was there before Rick got to Alexandria. Of course, his mother, she was the leader, and his whole family was there. And as soon as Rick came, they kind of associate that with the time when I guess you could say the community changed. Of course, shortly after that, you had the wolves, and then all of a sudden the huge Walker attack, lost so many people, and of course he lost his family as well. So obviously there's a lot of anger there, and Gabriel was trying to talk to him about that. He's like, I know you kind of associate the loss of everything and how things have changed as being Rick's fault, but in a way, you could look at it as well if Rick and the group hadn't been there when the wolves broke in.
Right,
Alexandria probably would not still be standing. They would have ended up like Noah's community. So uh,
right.
he's having trouble accepting this new arrangement. And while other people are struggling with it as well, they're coming up with ways to fight back. Whereas Spencer is just trying to pass the blame along to Rick.
Right. He's trying to get people to second guess Rick and come against Rick and, follow him.
Right.
And, but how about Gabriel, though? I mean, he's just like, I'm calling you out, man.
Yeah.
Just saying, Gabriel's still being, boss, as always.
Yeah.
Um, and, so, okay, now we've kind of pretty much recapped this episode. Now, okay, we got to give our predictions on what's to come. What do we see from here on out? Like, what do you think that's going to transpire here?
Well, what we have at this point is probably the most likely time for some sort of counterattack from the people who Negan has been terrorizing this entire season. We have, of course, Daryl, who is in the Savior's compound right now, and we also have possibly somebody in there who's helping him because he got a key, there. So that was a big moment.
Hmm.
So you have that in place. You also have Jesus, who is in the mix. Like we
Yeah.
said, you have Michonne, who has taken a Savior hostage. Rick and
Hmm.
Aaron, who are still out. Rosita now has a bullet, and Negan is in Alexandria.
Right.
So there are a ton of ways that things can go next week. I think that Spencer is going to try to make some sort of move
Hmm.
to overtake Rick's leadership.
I think he will. And
And I don't think it's going to go over
no,
well.
I don't think. Be honest with you, I'm calling it. Just like I called the Scarface thing. With Carl. I'm going to call this. I think Spencer, is going to get knocked off next week.
Yeah.
I know, most definitely. I think he's going to. I think we're kind of in agreement with that. I mean, he's just trying to overstep too many boundaries, and he's going to pay for it. All right, so now before we wrap things up, we're going to just talk about the giveaway. And what is that I've already came up with the amount. They've seen on Facebook, $100, a gift card of their choice. But we're going to be asking a question. And how this is going to work is that if you know the answer, go ahead and message us on our Facebook page, and then we'll take the names that answer correctly, and we'll put them into a hat, and we'll kind of like do a drawing of some sort. Okay, and then whoever's name that we draw, that would be the winner, and we will do that on. We will announce the winner on next week's mid-season finale episode.
Oh, yeah.
So stay tuned for that. And also, well, everybody is pretty much, if you've been checking out the Facebook page, we have also have a very, very special announcement to make. Very special announcement. And Josh, I'm going to let you do the honors with announcing this, man. I'm so stoked. Let the people have it, man.
Hey,
Let them
guys,
have it.
we are excited because we have actually spoken to Jordan Woods Robinson, who plays Eric on the show, and he has agreed to join us, and we're going to get to talk with him, ask him a few questions, and we are super excited. Really cool of him to agree to do this with us. That will be going up after our mid-season finale review and recap episode, so stay tuned for that. When we do the mid-season finale review next week, we will give you guys a time and date so you can be ready to check out this upcoming interview that we have with Jordan. And as for the giveaway, the question is actually based on an episode name because we've talked about a lot of content from this season, but one of the things that the creators like to do is they like to get kind of clever with the episode titles and have them have some real
Right.
relevance to the show. And these past 7 episodes have been they've been a thrill ride, and
Absolutely.
we've seen the group officially feel the wrath of Negan, and it seemed like Negan's rule over them started with the season 7 premiere. It officially started. We knew he was there before, but the show has officially changed since that first episode. And that first episode was titled "The Day Will Come When You Won't Be," and the question is, who in the series said that line?
All right. Now, who in the series said that line? Okay. If you know the answer, go ahead and submit the answer to us on our Facebook page again. And we will take a list of names and then we will put them in a hat and we will be announcing the winner on the mid-season finale episode next week. Okay. And well, that about does it for me and Josh. And we'd like to thank you again for joining us on a very, very, special edition of Joe and Josh Talk The Walking Dead. We hope that you guys enjoy and stay tuned. Keep if you like this, just give us a thumbs up on our Facebook, comment, share. We'd love to hear from you. Again, thank you so much, and we will catch you next week for the mid-season finale.
Thanks, guys. Catch you soon.